Welcome to the future of course selection at Wharton. Welcome to CourseMatch. Think of CourseMatch as your personal scheduling agent. CourseMatch acts on your behalf to buy your best possible schedule given your relative utilities, budget, credit unit maximum, and course clearing prices. Let me show you how by giving you a very high-level overview of how CourseMatch works and then drilling down into a specific example. To use CourseMatch, you need to know three terms. 1. You have relative utilities for course sections. Some sections are high on that scale, others less so, some not at all. 2. Each section has a clearing price based on available seats and the relative demand for those seats. 3. You have a budget of course tokens. CourseMatch spends your course tokens to purchase course sections guided by your reported utilities. CourseMatch works in 3 steps. First, you report your utilities to CourseMatch. For the purposes of the fall semester, this process begins now and extends through mid-August. Then, CourseMatch uses your relative utilities and those of 1,500 plus other Wharton MBA students to establish a clearing price for each section. Once it knows the clearing price for every section, it will buy your best possible schedule, given your relative utilities, budget, credit unit maximum, and course clearing prices. Since it knows the clearing prices, CourseMatch never over or underpays for a section, meaning your tokens are used in the most efficient way possible. Finally, shortly before classes start, a drop-add period allows you to make final adjustments to your schedule. The best way we've found to explain the system is to work through an example. This will help illustrate how to make CourseMatch work for you. What we are looking at here are the actual preferences reported by Jessica, a Wharton MBA student who was part of the initial CourseMatch test group. In CourseMatch, you can assign relative utilities on a scale of 0 to 100 for as many course sections as you are eligible to take. When assigning relative utilities, a lot of people like to start with their topmost value, then assign everything else relative to that. That's what Jessica did. Her most preferred section is legal aspects of entrepreneurship, so she assigned a utility of 100 to that section. She then assigned utilities to other course sections to indicate her relative interest in them. Your utilities are weighted by a course's credit unit value. Multiply your utility for a section by the course's credit unit value, and you'll get your weighted utility. A utility of 100 times 1 credit unit equals a weighted utility of 100. That weighted utility value is important to keep in mind when assigning utilities for half credit unit classes. More on that in just a little bit. Again, utilities are relative. In this case, relative to the utility of 100 that Jessica assigned to her most preferred course. At utilities of 91 and 90, we see that Jessica has a strong interest in negotiations, and her interest in strategic brand management is half as strong relative to that of her most preferred section. Notice that you can assign utilities across multiple sections of the same course. CourseMatch knows to give you a maximum of 1 section of that course. This applies to cross-listed courses as well. CourseMatch also knows which courses you wouldn't take together. For example, if you assigned utilities to both Management 610, Managing the Established Enterprise, and Management 612, Managing the Emerging Enterprise, CourseMatch would know not to give you both. But it wouldn't keep you from taking multiple iterations of the OPM or Marketing Flex Core requirements. There is a way to keep from getting more than 1 section of those different courses, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You can also assign utilities for sections offered at the same time. Again, CourseMatch knows to give you only 1 section in a single time slot. CourseMatch allows you to input the maximum number of credit units you wish to take during a semester. It will never give you a schedule with more than that number of credit units. If you don't assign enough preferences, or you clump your preferences into unworkable slots, it could give you a lesser number. That is one of the reasons that we strongly suggest you assign utilities for every section you could see yourself taking. Remember, CourseMatch is your personal scheduling agent. It buys courses for you based on the utilities you report, section clearing prices, and your budget. To CourseMatch, your most preferred schedule is one that is feasible, meaning one that presents no time conflicts, that fits within your credit unit maximum and budget of course tokens, and that maximizes your utilities. Based on those constraints, this set of courses is Jessica's most preferred schedule. If these 5 courses are within her budget, CourseMatch will buy this schedule for her. If not, it will proceed to her next most desirable schedule. We don't expect you to keep all of this in your head. The user interface can calculate this for you. The Top Schedules tool allows you to see as many as 50 of your top schedules. Enter the number of schedules you want CourseMatch to show, and it will show them in order of preference. The What If tool allows you to see what would happen to your most preferred schedules if one or more section is left out. And if you click this button here, it will maximize the Schedules tool. This will let you better visualize the various iterations of your schedule. Notice this number right here. This is the schedule value for Jessica's most preferred schedule. The schedule value is simply the sum of weighted utilities of the classes shown in her schedule. You can modify the schedule value, and doing so, change your schedule, by simply increasing or decreasing your utilities, or by assigning utilities to 2 courses. This is called making an adjustment. Adjustments allow you to express a shared utility, positive or negative, for the combination of 2 courses. For example, Jessica's most preferred course is Legal Aspects of Entrepreneurship, with a utility of 100. She also has a strong interest in the Venture Capital course, with a utility of 61. If CourseMatch added both sections to her schedule as is, the weighted utility these 2 classes would add to her schedule is 161. But if she could get both courses in her schedule, it might be even more preferable, in which case she could add utility to the combination of the 2 classes. CourseMatch lets you add a value up to 100 times the total number of credit units to a combination of 2 courses. In this example, we have 2 classes, each worth 1 credit unit. So Jessica can add a utility of up to 200 to this combination. This adjustment, if made, would change Jessica's most preferred schedule from this to this. CourseMatch recognizes that if both sections of Venture Capital and Legal Aspects of Entrepreneurship appear in Jessica's schedule, that combination would be worth an adjusted utility of 361, so it will try to add those 2 courses to her schedule. Note that her most preferred schedule no longer includes either section of Real Estate Investments, because the first conflicts with the Venture Capital course, and the second because Jessica has told CourseMatch she wants no more than 5 credit units. This new schedule would be worth a utility of 591. Since we are dealing with relative utilities, if Jessica made this adjustment, she would be telling CourseMatch that this schedule is considerably more preferable than the first schedule we looked at, which has a utility of 401. Assigning adjustments can work both ways. You can tell CourseMatch that the combination of 2 courses has a lower utility. If you want only one of 2 sections and never both, you can tell CourseMatch that the combination is worth less than 0. In such a case, CourseMatch would never add the combination of those 2 sections to your schedule. Let's go back to Jessica's original top schedule, without the adjustments. Now assume that Jessica looks at this schedule and thinks, I'd rather not be in class between 1:30 and 6 p.m. on Monday. I could handle it on Wednesday, even Thursday, but not Monday. If CourseMatch gives her Legal Aspects of Entrepreneurship, she doesn't want that section of Real Estate Investments too. So she assigns an adjustment. This tells CourseMatch that individually, Legal Aspects of Entrepreneurship has a utility of 100, this section of Real Estate Investments has a utility of 71, but together their utility is -1. CourseMatch changes her top schedule from this to this. This illustrates another important point. Combinations operate by section, not by course. Jessica still winds up with a section of Real Estate Investments, just at a different time. On August 14th at 11:59 p.m., CourseMatch will no longer allow you to change your utilities. This is when the system really gets to work. Using optimization algorithms, it establishes a clearing price for each section. In the most basic terms, it looks at the relative demand for each section and the supply of seats in that section. If supply exceeds demand, then the section price is set at 0. If demand exceeds supply, then the price of the course goes up until CourseMatch finds enough students whose utilities indicate they aren't willing to pay that premium. Once clearing prices are established, CourseMatch uses your budget to buy your schedule, but not just any schedule. CourseMatch ensures that you are assigned your best possible schedule given your relative utilities, budget, credit unit maximum, and course clearing prices. You can't do any better, and that's true for every student. Your budget of course tokens is good for 1 semester. Unused tokens do not carry over. If you get everything you want at a comparably low price, congratulations. If getting all you want means spending every last token, that's okay too. Let's take a look at what CourseMatch bought for Jessica based on her utilities, a credit unit maximum of 5, and a budget of 5,000 tokens. For the purpose of this exercise, we've removed all adjustments, so we are only focused on the utilities you see here. The last 2 columns show the clearing price for each section, and the stars indicate the sections added to Jessica's schedule. As we've already established, CourseMatch will buy your best possible schedule given your relative utilities, budget, credit unit maximum, and course clearing prices. We established before that based on these preferences, Jessica's most preferred schedule has a value of 401. The schedule CourseMatch bought for her has a value of 387. Let's break that down. Jessica's most preferred class had a relatively low clearing price and was added to her schedule. Jessica's most preferred section of negotiations was very expensive. Remember, her budget is 5,000 tokens. If CourseMatch bought this class for her, it couldn't afford her most preferred class. But she reported that she likes another section of the course nearly as much, and it was much less expensive, so CourseMatch added it to her schedule. Notice here that Jessica reported no difference in utility between these 2 sections of negotiations, leaving the system the flexibility to purchase either the cheaper of the 2 or the one that fits best into her schedule. Jessica's most preferred real estate course conflicts with the venture capital course. CourseMatch recognizes that the second most preferred real estate investments and the venture capital section together are worth more to Jessica than the first section of real estate alone, so it adds the 2 courses that maximize her schedule's value. Now that you've seen how the system works, I want to go back and highlight something I touched on earlier. Remember what I said about weighted utilities. Your utilities are weighted by a course's credit unit value. Multiply your utility by the course's credit unit value, and you get your weighted utility. Well, let's say that instead of Jessica's most preferred section being legal aspects of entrepreneurship, it's entrepreneurship, a 0.5 credit unit course that meets Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 o'clock a.m., meaning that it conflicts with nothing else in her schedule. Jessica's weighted utility for that course would be 50. Now assume that by some miracle, the clearing price for every one of these courses is 0. Does Jessica get entrepreneurship? No. With a value of 352, this would be Jessica's most preferred schedule. If CourseMatch gives Jessica entrepreneurship, it would create for her a schedule that has a utility of 350. What could Jessica do to get entrepreneurship? Well, in this case, she could report that she wants a maximum of either 5.5 credit units or 4.5 credit units. She could also decrease the utilities assigned to other courses or create an adjustment that increases the utility of entrepreneurship along with that of another course. This could work to her advantage, especially when pairing 2.5 credit unit courses. I know what many of you are thinking. What are the best strategies for entering my utilities? Turns out that CourseMatch has some very simple strategic advice. Don't be strategic. Report your true utilities. Remember, CourseMatch is your scheduling agent. Once again, you will get your best possible schedule given your relative utilities, budget, credit unit maximum, and course clearing prices. Reporting anything but your true relative utilities puts you at a disadvantage. You only need to focus on your preferences. You do not have to worry about anyone else. Sometimes, though, your preferences change and you'll want to make a last-minute adjustment. The drop add period will allow you to do just that. This first-come, first-served system maintains waiting lists for all courses that automatically advance when seats become available. We'll publish more information about the add drop period on the CourseMatch website as it is completed. This is the timeline. Note that you have until August the 14th to set your preferences. CourseMatch will run beginning on August the 15th, and schedules will be reported on August the 21st. Core classes will begin on August the 26th. Simple, optimal, fair, innovative. Welcome to CourseMatch.